sir.
All right. Good evening. My name is Mike Licata, and I'm the tree warden for the town of Darien, Connecticut. Tonight's public hearing concerns the removal of 14 trees in the public right-of-way of Corbin Drive, extending from the Post Road to Old Kings Highway South. The 14 trees, 12 pin oaks and 2 pear trees, were posted on Thursday, July 15th, as required by law per Connecticut General Statute, Section 2329. The town of Darien received a written objection to the tree removals within 10 days. Connecticut General Statutes requires that the tree warden hold a public hearing at some suitable time and place after giving reasonable notice to those parties known to be interested in the matter. Notification of this public hearing has been sent to those known interested parties. Notification of this public hearing has also been posted on the subject trees. Persons present this evening will be given one opportunity to be heard on this matter. The tree warden will make a decision within 3 days of the close of the public hearing. Any party aggrieved by the tree warden's decision will have 10 days to appeal to the Superior Court. As I previously stated, everyone present this evening will have one opportunity to make a statement. Before making a statement, you please identify yourself by name and address for the record, and we also ask that you use a microphone. There's one microphone here. You can stand up and use that one, and I've been given a handheld microphone. I'm brave enough to let people use that one. I think you have to turn it on. But with that, the trees were requested to be removed by Baywater Properties as part of a public redevelopment project. And I'd like to start with Mr. Genovese, who represents that Baywater Properties company, and to state the reason why they requested the tree removal. Just turn it over to Dave. Thanks, Dave.
Good evening. Thank you very much. My name is David Genovese. I'm a resident of Darien, born here, raising my family here now. I live at 15 Baywater Drive. I'm here tonight to talk about this application. I may switch to the microphone. Let me see if this will work. Can you hear me? Can you hear me on that? Okay. We put together a small presentation just to take you through the approach and the request. These trees were posted a few days ago at the request of the town of Darien. We've been working on this project for about 15 years. We've been talking with the town in public for about 13 years about the project. And we tried to be as transparent as we possibly could about it. Beginning in 2015, we literally made dozens of presentations to the Darien boards and commissions, including the Planning and Zoning Commission, the Environmental Protection Commission, and the Architectural Review Board. We additionally made presentations to the Darien Board of Realtors, the DCA, the Darien Senior Men's Club, the Darien Lions Club, the Kiwanis Club of Darien, and the Darien Senior Center, among others. We also received probably 100, maybe more, phone calls and requests for meetings from individuals in town to talk about the project, people who had different questions of all kinds, about traffic, about parking, about height of the buildings, about the kinds of businesses we put forward. And we had an open door policy, and we took it a step further and actually even created a website beginning in 2014 or so called Your Downtown Darien, which basically put all of the information about the project, including every design, onto the website so that people who didn't have the time or the ability to get to a public planning and zoning meeting or an architectural review board meeting or an environmental protection committee meeting could learn about the project and actually watch the videos, watch the presentations. This is just a listing, for example, of what's on that website, but it's many, many, many pages, and so a lot of this information has been out there. So we were, to be candid, a little bit surprised by some of the reactions that we received in the last few days because the public hearings occurred in these various boards and commissions, and actually we received approval in 2018 for the project, which included the removal of the trees and a replanting plan. As I like to say, we try to make every place where we do our work better than the way we found it. So we basically came up with a landscaping plan working with Dennis Dale from Dale Design and Towers Goldie, landscape architects of New Haven, to try to come up with the best possible plan. Our goals for the project, candidly, maybe not so much part of this meeting, but our goals were to improve the downtown area, to create a more pedestrian-friendly downtown, to create a safe pedestrian experience. Right now, in the second phase of the project, there's perpendicular parking to the post road where there are a lot of accidents. My partner, Penny Glassmeyer, actually got in an accident in that area. My daughter actually was hit by a car in that area a couple of years ago. And as if those of you who've walked these sidewalks, I think you would agree that these trees are pushing up the sidewalks, and they've created a very, very unsafe condition, certainly for a typical pedestrian, but especially so for a pedestrian in a wheelchair. These are not wheelchair friendly or accessible sidewalks today. So the plan is to remove the 12 pin oaks and the 2 pear trees located on the north edge of Corbin Drive, as marked on this plan. And we'll put this presentation up as well onto the internet site, the website that we have, so you'll be able to access it freely. We've sent a copy to TV79 so people can see this. And to replace them with a significantly greater number of trees. These are some images of the existing trees. We walked the site 2 years ago with Dennis Dale, who's here tonight. We walked it again this afternoon, confirming, as Dennis can, if you'd like to speak to him or hear from him, just the state of distress that most of these trees are in. And, you know, the sidewalks themselves sort of speak for themselves. And if you've walked this recently, you'll understand what I'm talking about, that these trees are literally pushing through the sidewalk and creating really unsafe conditions. Some of the trees are actually dead from the inside. These are just some images of what we found and taking pictures of the trees. So the plan is to remove those trees and then replace them with 17 new trees. It's a mix that we picked from the town tree list for the streetscape that was developed by the town about 14 years ago. And then, more importantly, I think, is to look at the big picture. There are no trees in front of most of the buildings on the post road from Corbin Drive to exit 11. There are some pin oaks in front of the Bank of America building. The plan is to take those down and then to literally install 125 to 150 new trees in the second phase, well, on the combined first and second phase of the project. So, you know, from our vantage point, we're accomplishing the development goal, which is to create a more pedestrian-friendly environment, create a better streetscape, create much more walkability in downtown Darien by eliminating the back-out parking and adding trees along the post road and replacing the trees in this way. And that's all I have.
Thanks, Dave. Is there anyone else that'd like to make a statement at this time? We can start in the front row and work back. Would you like to come up? You can please use that microphone, or you can try to take the handheld from David.
Can you hear me through the mask?
You have to get pretty close, Samantha.
Hi, my name's Natalie Tallis. I live here in Darien, and I'm here this evening to speak in support of Baywater Properties' request to remove trees along Corbin Drive. I support their request because I looked at the years-long process the company went through to get to this point where construction has already begun. Baywater fulfilled every requirement and met with every stakeholder needed to get the town's approval for the Corbin development, including an expansive restoration plan using approved trees by the town of Darien.
I'm having trouble hearing you. Can you hear? Yeah, I'm having trouble hearing you. Can you speak? Maybe you can take your mask off while you're speaking so I can.
Is this better?
That's better. Yeah, I can. I'm having.
Is that better? If I talk like
I'd
this?
like to hear what you have to say, but I'm having the acoustics.
Do you want me to start again?
I can hear you now, yeah.
So just the last sentence, that Baywater has fulfilled every requirement and met with every stakeholder needed to get the town's approval for the Corbin development, including an expansive restoration plan using approved trees by the town of Darien. There are several issues here this evening, and they should not be conflated. One, will the Darien tree warden rule in favor of Baywater's request to remove a dozen or so trees so the company can move forward with their project? Two, God bless you. Why did the town not require the public notification of Baywater's request to move these trees at an earlier point in the process? And three, why in 2021 does this town still list primarily non-native trees on their approved list for new plantings? Baywater has gone beyond what they needed to do to work with the town, the public, and fellow property and business owners. If this issue had come up at an earlier point in the approval process, there's no doubt in my mind, as a community, we would not be in this position tonight. Moving forward, David Genovese, on behalf of Baywater, has agreed to work with conservationists in town who represents Friends of Selleck's Woods, the Darien Land Trust, the Green Team, among others. It is hard to imagine a better outcome for a difficult situation. What we can learn from this is that the town needs a different process and set of guidelines for working with developers, private property owners, utility companies, and other stakeholders when it comes to the environment, specifically the removal and planting of both trees and other plant vegetation. Juliet Kane is already working with our first selectman about developing such a policy. We should not let the removal of a dozen or so trees get in the way of meaningful change. If the result of this hearing is a more widespread understanding and appreciation of the importance of native trees, we should be proud. And we shouldn't forget what Baywater is creating for the community, a new walkable downtown environment with outdoor spaces that will hold concerts, farmers markets, and other community gatherings. I hope the tree warden will decide to grant Baywater permission to move forward with their Corbin District Plan. Thank you.
Thank you. We're going to try to move up. Would you like to make a statement at all, or you just, okay. No one in the front row here? Anyone going back? Anyone else want to make a statement? You want to make a statement? You can approach the microphone.
I have a concern about taking down historical trees in the community, and while I applaud your efforts for planting many more trees, I think that's wonderful. I think we should have some respect for some of the historical trees in the downtown area. I happen to walk to town quite frequently, and I actually, with a stroller, go over those sidewalks, and I've never found it an issue. And if we value trees as assets in our community, clearly they have economic value, as you're pointing out. They're better for the town, they help with shade, they're better for the carbon in the atmosphere, and they also protect against flooding, all of issues that we suffer from. I think that we should also understand what trees have historic significance, and if a tree is particularly an older tree, I think that we should try to include that in our planning as opposed to wholesale cut down trees. 14 trees in the downtown area is a lot of trees to come down. So my humble request is to take a look at some of those very significant trees and try to protect some of them. And just as an aside, we're one of the few towns in Fairfield County who do not have a tree commission in our town government. A tree commission could broaden the purview of what you're doing, and when these kinds of things come up, there'll be guiding principles that are more than just sidewalks and developments. It would have to do with the overall integrity of the community and the economic values of trees to our community. So thank you.
Oh, thank you. Appreciate it.
Excuse me? Kathy Sinnott.
Thank you.
Okay. You want to make a statement, Darren?
I would like to speak to that.
Sure.
I agree with the other lady. My name to the people in this town hall public meeting.
Please approach, use the microphone. You can use the handheld too.
Okay, no worries.
Be sure you turn it on. The valve is on.
See this one?
Oh, you can use either one, whatever you feel comfortable with.
Okay. I object to Baywater Properties and the town of Darien's request for removal of the trees. Hold on. For these following reasons.
Well, wait till you get the microphone, please.
Okay. So the town of Darien has received my objection letter on the 21st. Okay. The town of Darien has received my objection.
You gotta keep the microphone close, Darren.
Why don't I take that back from you? Yeah. No, it's not. It's probably easier to use this one.
So I sent a certified letter.
Well, just you have to get close to the microphone or no one can hear you, Darren.
Talk to the mic. Hello? Okay. So I'm a resident of Darien for at least 51 years. To me, the trees on the Baywater properties requested the removal of the tree on July 15th, 2021. I've taken 3 administrative appeals to the town, and one of them was notable, where the judge, the Honorable Judge Kevin Tierney, agreed with me on page 108 of the excerpt from the court. In my
Can you
objection
approach the
letter,
microphone a little more?
okay, so in my objection letter, it was a certified letter, article number 7019-1640-001-7031-2077, which the town signed for it, according to this. They signed for it. So this is the objection letter that I sent certified mail to the town. And it
You
basically,
should get close to the microphone, yeah.
okay, it basically states that the 14 trees, the constitutional provisions involved in this appeal pursuant to the statute is that these trees are over 100 years old, and as David Genovese noted about 3 speakers ago, that he showed the pictures of the trees, and I would like clarification from David Genovese that if those 3 trees are unhealthy, that, you know, those trees could be removed, but the point is that the judge, Honorable Judge Kevin Tierney, in the excerpt that I filed with the court, states, I'll read it to you. This is an excerpt from the court case, from the court monitor's report.
Yeah,
So basically, it just states, I just want to tell this to the public because then they'll know in layman terms what I'm trying to say. So the Honorable Judge Kevin Tierney in the courthouse on September 18, 2017, in a motion to dismiss against the town of Darien, which Michael Cotta cut the tree down on April Fool's Day. Okay? I went to the public hearing. They cut the tree down because I didn't allege 53. I said 1 to 110 goes over the road, but they cut that tree down anyway. Okay? It wasn't timely to the court, but Judge Tierney wanted to throw the book at them for destroying the environment. So for me, this is not about someone's personal monetary gain to put a building in. I think it's great that you want to develop the land and put a building in. But all I'm asking for you is, as a citizen, is that I have a religious freedom. And my religious freedom goes to the amendment of the Constitution, the Connecticut Constitution. And the judge said, objection, I have a part, I walk down the road every day, line 2. The court says, line 4 says, abstain. My understanding is the court said that a sparrow could have planted the tree. I said, right. And they said, anyone can plant the tree. And the court says, no, I didn't say anyone, I said a sparrow. The court said, that's not a captain, that's a pirate, that's a bird. And then Mr. Lamort says he has no burden of proof showing that he actually planted the tree. That was me, September 18th, 2017, in a motion to dismiss, which was granted because it wasn't timely, as the tree warden said, within 10 days of his 3 days after the hearing, or 5 days after, he gives an objection letter. He gives a motion of how he's going to view the removal of the trees based on the health of them. But for me, if he rules on the safety or the health issues of the tree, that's great. But like the other person, I don't know her name, but she said that if the tree's old and if it's healthy, we should save it. And I agree with that resident. The point is that if you have a gripe against the Constitution, you have rights and you have standing to challenge something, okay? And I'm not saying to David Genovese or Baywater Properties that I deny them to beautify the town and make businesses, but for monetary gain, where it's George Washington passed a stagecoach by the road of Oakings Highway South 3 times to go to Boston, okay? Maybe those trees are not as old as George Washington, but the one on the corner of the gas station, number 1 that you tagged, doesn't need to be removed. Number 2 doesn't need to be removed. Number 3 doesn't need to be removed. All the way to the peach trees on the end of the road. None of them are dead. But if 3 of them are, remove them. And I'm not going to fault the tree warden for doing his job. And I'm not going to fight Darren Ospifine for doing his job for the public safety of the residents that walk by. But I don't have a gripe of you wanting to put a building in. That's not where my gripe is. So I'm not here to cause havoc to the public, but I just wanted to express my objection to the removal of the trees that have a historical interest into the community where I live in the District of Connecticut. You live in the District of Connecticut. The tree warden lives in the District of Connecticut. You live in the District of Connecticut. They live in the Judicial District of Connecticut. So does the first selectman, Jamie Stevenson. We all live in the community, and I have asthma. I have an upper respiratory infection. My father collapsed on that road on October 3rd, 2013. So for me, I'm citing a religious freedom, and I'm seeking a declaratory judgment from the court under the Connecticut Statute Book of the Connecticut Process Book 2217A, 2217A, 2219A through 2220, and from 1 to 16 to save the trees in the public right of way, because it's clearly, for me, it's an environmental issue. For someone to put a building in, even though you want to plant more trees, that's great. And you want to put more trees along the Corbin Drive section, that's great. It's great that someone wants to plant trees, but for me, I feel that it's clearly an environmental issue, and this is an issue with the Environmental Protection Policy Act, and it's also, in accordance with 2219, provides notice that any person intervened with a private citizen provided a voice that natural resources in the state of Connecticut remain protected. Because the plaintiffs filed a notice of intervention at the commission hearings, which is today. Today is August 2nd, 2021. I don't know what time it is, but so I'm providing a notice, Darren Angelo Morris providing a notice of intervention at this commission hearing under Michael Licata as the Darien Tree Warden, Jamie Stevens as the first selectman, Darren Ospifine as the Public Works Department, that I have standing to appeal this to the Superior Court within 10 days based on my environmental issues that the commission, according to the court, 212, Connecticut 710, 715, 563A2D, emphasis added, that in if you see Red Hill Coalition versus the Conservation Commission, 212, 710, 715, 563A2D, 33, 1989 held that in classical aggrieved, still having a statutory standing to appeal the agent's decision under section 22A allows that under my Constitution provision of the United States Constitution that I'm an aggrieved party and Congress has, Connecticut citizens have United States, Congress has, this is all I want to say is that we have, as citizens in the United States of Connecticut, we have Connecticut Constitution, where we
Want to
have
ask
amendments.
Darren a question or something? Did you raise your hand or something?
So I want to just basically
Not
state
some of these people have raised their hand.
Amendment 1, Amendment 4, Amendment 14 of the U.S. Constitution, and then Sections 1 of the Connecticut Constitution, Article 1, Sections 3, Sections 10, Article 20, Article 5, and Section 1. Section 3 says, the exercise and enjoyment of religious profession and worship without discrimination shall ever, free of all persons in the state, privy to the right to declare the established that shall no be construed as exact points of legislation to justify the peace of safety of the state. Section 10 says, all courts should be open to every person for the injury due to him and personal property. Okay, I just want to say this. This is all I want to say. And that injury in the personal property is that you shall not be denied the protection of the right, and the judicial power of the state is vested in the Supreme Court and the lower courts. The established powers are belong by law. So what I'm trying to say is that under the Environmental Policy Act of 42 U.S.C., sections 4331 through 435, it was acted to protect and then 22A17 says that the town municipality can't disregard the person's environment for their own personal gain. They have to preserve the environment in the public right of way. And according to the Honorable Judge Kevin Tierney on September 18th from the court, he basically said I pass by the tree every day, so that constitutes that standing, and that the tree should stay. And I'm saying that David Properties' proposal to the town to put a building is great, but I would wish, I'm only requesting that it's great that you want to plant other trees and other people want to speak. So
Yes.
I'm requesting that you preserve the trees according to the gas station, and then preserve the trees that are healthy. That's all I'm requesting. And then I'm not interfering with you putting the building in because I don't own the property.
Yeah, we have to, thanks, Darren. Thanks, Mr. Lamort, appreciate it.
Yeah.
So I have to cut you off to let some other people speak. Thank you. Would you like to approach the microphone? Oh, you have to. Oh, just, yeah, where's the handout? BT. You want
Hi, Phyllis Hawkins.
to use the handout at all?
No, I'm fine. I'm fine. I really support what you're doing, David. I think you're amazing, and I think you're going to really alter this town for the better, our wonderful, already wonderful town for the better. But I have to say that, and I don't know why it's taken so long for us to hear about these trees, but it's disturbing to me to hear about trees that are over 100 years old coming down.
They're about
And I would like
52
to-
years old. They were planted in 1969, all the pin oaks.
And
Everyone in town.
so old trees. And I don't, somebody mentioned that it took a while for us as the public to hear about it. We should have heard about it earlier. I don't really know what the solution is here. I think that your planting trees, if they're mature trees, is one way to deal with it. But I would like to think that you would try to do as much as you could to let the trees that are healthy continue to survive and to work around that. That would be such a wonderful thing, because I think we have a real issue in Darien with the taking down of trees. I have another question, though. Who makes the final decision about trees coming down? And I know I went to another tree meeting, and it was you, Mr. Cotta. Is that not right?
Yeah, I make the decision, and it can be appealed within 10 days.
And,
yes.
I think you're a really nice guy and everything, and I'm sure you're a wonderful tree surgeon, but I have a real problem with the person who is making the decisions then being the one who has the company that takes the trees down. To me, that seems like a real conflict of interest. So I just want to state that for the record. I'm not talking about your particular situation with trees coming down, because I know that is not the case when we.
It's like a beauty pageant. Like Minnesota wins the beauty pageant. The town of Darien has already had a public hearing here. And what they're doing is they're holding a public hearing, letting us speak, recording us right now, and later they're going to use it against us, like he said, she said. So that's why I gave you the article number for you.
Please use the microphones.
Thanks, Darren.
Okay,
All right.
okay.
Just one person at a time, please.
You have to have the microphone.
Somebody else has the floor, Mr. Lamar. Somebody else has the floor.
I just wanted
That's
to
okay.
add to it. It's total conflict of interest.
Thank you. Thank you very much
It's a total conflict of interest because David Jennings
Somebody else has the floor, Mr. Lamar.
for disagreeing with me.
nor do I. A bird planter was here to treat it.
Taking up your time.
That's okay.
Taking up your time.
That's it.
Someone else?
I'm all done.
Please let
I'm all done. I just wanted to record that issue that I had.
the lady finish speaking. Are you finished?
I'm all done. I just wanted to record. It's always interesting. It's always interesting.
Feel free to recognize her.
Excuse me?
I just wanted to make that comment about conflict of interest. Thank you very much.
Thank you very much. Would you like to approach? You have to approach the microphone. You can, if you want, you can use the handheld if you feel better. That's kind of giving us a little trouble.
Actually, can I face that way?
You want to try to use this one?
I know who you are, obviously.
Juliet Kane, 81 Locust Hill Road, and I am co-chair of the Darien Pollinator Pathway. Extreme weather is causing loss of life and property in the US and around the world. And as my co-chair Deepika will discuss, Darien is no longer sheltered from these extremes. But we're finally beginning to appreciate that natural solutions to these weather patterns exist, and that trees in particular form a critical part of those natural solutions. Trees help stabilize soil and provide natural flood, drainage, and erosion control. Trees draw down carbon dioxide, which exacerbates high temperatures, and store that carbon. Trees act as air conditioners. The temperature under a tree canopy can be up to 25 degrees lower than in surrounding paved areas, resulting in more comfortable urban environments and more foot traffic for businesses. Trees act as air filters, removing dangerous particulate matter from the atmosphere. Trees improve our physical and mental well-being. They enhance aesthetics, and they improve our property values. And native trees do all of this in abundance while creating habitat for pollinators and insects whose populations are in drastic decline, in part due to development that has taken away natural habitat. We all know that without pollinators, we won't have plants and trees to give us oxygen or food. And the pollinators, insects, and birds supported by native trees provide natural pest controls. We can't afford to have our temperatures continue to rise, and we can't afford the cost of storms, which can be mitigated through the flood and drainage systems offered by mature trees. We have the means to reduce our temperatures, maintain and enhance our flood controls, improve our air quality, and contribute to food security if we take action. Other towns like Hartford, Greenwich, Stamford, and Westport are designated as tree cities and have shown commitment to tree protection and planting through the appointment of tree advisory boards, as was mentioned earlier, and the adoption of regulations. The Pollinator Pathway has begun a discussion with the town to propose a clear and transparent set of guidelines around tree removal, tree replacement, and mitigation practices that would be included in the early stages of the planning process so that we can avoid the situation that we have tonight. We've also made suggestions for funding. Our proposals would see the replacement of any unavoidably lost trees with native trees, rather than the ornamental and sometimes invasive species currently recommended. And we would like to see these guidelines apply to the town, developers, and residents alike. We believe that robust rules combined with an educational program to raise public awareness of the critical role that trees play in our lives would result in a desire on the part of all of us to do our best to protect and preserve the canopy that we have and to create more. We recently met with David Genovese, who in principle and to the extent feasible, given that the first stage of his project is approved and already underway, is supportive of incorporating native trees into his development. And we'd urge the town to learn from tonight to adopt policies that recognize that the preservation and protection of our legacy trees and the planting of native trees are public purposes that protect both public health and welfare and the environment. Thank you.
Thank you. Good.
Thank you. I'm Deepika Saxena. I'm from 354 Hoyt Street in Darien. Can you hear me?
No.
Oh, should I remove my mask?
You can remove it.
Thank you. I'm Deepika Saxena from 354 Hoyt Street in Darien. I'm also with the Pollinator Pathway, along with Juliet. I just wanted to add a bit to what she said. According to a recent study at UConn, Darien was singled out as having more than a 10-degree rise in the average surface temperature in the past 20 years, more than the other surrounding towns, including Norwalk and Stamford. Researchers believe that development in Darien in the last 20 years and the removal of tree cover in favor of asphalt and concrete has contributed to this increase in surface temperature. This is corroborated by the tree equity score map developed by American Forests, which shows that tree canopy is deficient in the section along the post road from the Roten to the Goodwife Center, essentially all of downtown Darien. Last month, we had high temperatures in the 90s, that were baking Connecticut. Heat advisories across the state were followed by rainstorms that caused severe flooding in town. These are the tangible effects of climate change. now showing up in the state of Connecticut. These types of situations will be more common, and the trend will only worsen moving forward as climate change accelerates. To mitigate these effects of climate change, we need to develop climate resilience by protecting our existing mature trees and planting more trees. Protecting and increasing tree canopy covering along the streets and yards and in parking lots will definitely have a positive impact. Mature, large canopy native trees provide the most benefit, 8 times that of small maturing trees, according to the USDA Forest Service. The trees in question along Corbin Drive are mature native oaks. They provide the benefits that Julia just mentioned, and so much more. They are the king of trees. They're helping us be more resilient to climate change. Their well-established tree canopy cools and filters the surrounding air, and it captures and stores carbon. Their roots enrich the soil and absorb and filter rainwater. A mature oak can absorb up to 40,000 gallons of water a year. These trees on Corbin have helped mitigate flooding in downtown Darien for years. While the Norotan area has been plagued with flooding issues and the development of underwater drains has been costly, these trees have been quietly helping do that for free. Oak trees support more life forms than any other tree. In his book, Bringing Nature Home, Doug Tallamy, a noted entomologist from the University of Delaware, urges us to plant oak trees and claims that an oak tree supports over 4,000 different species of insects and animals, including almost 900 species of caterpillars, more than any other tree. The redevelopment Corbin Drive is planning to replace the oak trees with mostly non-native species that provide little benefit to our native critters. Take, for example, the Coosa dogwood tree, a town recommended street tree, by the way. This tree provides benefit to just one species, the Coosa monkey in Japan, but it supports 0 life forms in North America. This is completely counterintuitive and senseless. We cannot ignore what is happening around us. We have to act smartly and spend money wisely so that we can build climate change resilience in a sustainable way. It makes eminent sense for the town of Darien to develop a tree policy along the lines we are proposing, so that any development in Darien protects existing, mature native trees as far as possible, and in the rare case where this is not possible, replaces them with native trees only. Thank you.
Thank you.
Hello, Catherine Moffett, Old Kings Highway South. I just will take a couple of minutes to reiterate what a number of people have said before. I applaud the redevelopment in town. I think it will be a real benefit. And I also believe that planting more trees as part of the overall redevelopment is a good thing. But I don't think all trees are created equal. And I think it's a shame to be replacing these older, much more mature native trees with essentially ornamental trees. So my hope would be that there would be a solution that would allow us to keep the healthy trees that are currently on Corbin Drive and develop around them as we begin to plant more trees in the development in the further stages. I think you can't replace trees of that age that support the ecosystems that these trees place. And I think that there are solutions, and other cities have found solutions to mitigate problems with sidewalks and other kinds of things to allow those trees to thrive and contribute what they have to contribute to the development and to the town as a whole. Thank you.
Hold on, we have to wait, Mr. We have to. You only get one chance to really speak, you
I
know.
want to say one thing. I want to say one thing. When you make your, sure, you're probably my first amendment.
You have to use the microphone.
Okay.
Use the only one.
Sir, so my question for the town of Darien is, if you give your hearing, this is the public hearing, 3 days later you'll give your final answer. Why is your answer the final answer? And the question is that if you grant someone, you'd said once in a previous case, which is prevalent in this case, is because when you give your answer on your final answer, it says, I don't have the authority and I don't govern this, right? And you said that to me in one of your letters. It says, I don't govern this, therefore, I don't want to appeal David Genovese for removing the trees at his expense. If anyone's objection to it, they can appeal to the court, okay? So under the 4 statute 183 of the Connecticut Process Book, administrative appeal hearing, you can appeal to the court.
Yes, so you said that when we opened up the meeting.
No, so the point is, my question for you, sir, is that when you make your final decision on this public hearing, when other people object or they want to, whatever, my question for you, sir, is when you make your final answer, right? When you make your final answer, and you say to the public in Darien, who are the district of this town, District 2, whatever, here, okay, and we came to this hearing because we want to save the tree or he wants to put the building in. My question for you is that if you don't govern something, how can you give him permission to remove something at his expense if you don't govern it? That's my question.
You'd like to make a statement, please? You can approach the microphone. Yes, you have to use the microphone.
You want to answer the question, right?
Okay.
You want to answer the question?
It's my turn.
Can you state your name for the record, please?
We're trying to let someone else speak. Oh, you can use the handheld. Try to keep some order.
Other people want to speak.
I understand. You never answered the question.
He doesn't have to answer your question. It's a public hearing.
Deprive me of due process.
You've had an opportunity
Testing.
to comment.
Testing.
You had an opportunity to make a comment. That's what a public hearing is. Sorry about that. Can you state your name for the record, please?
I'm Sheila Sherwood. I live at 266 Hollow Tree. I'm a member of the 5th District, RTM. I'm on Park and Rec Committee and a member of a greenhouse group at DCA. So our environment is very important to me. I was not planning to speak tonight, but I felt like I needed to. So I know we're all here because we want what's best for our town, and I'm all for development, but I feel we do not have the best way for all of the citizens to have their say on what to do for our trees. And when I moved here about 40 years ago, it looked so different. I live on Hollow Tree, as I said, where we had a tree canopy across the whole road from Middlesex all the way to New Canaan. Some came down on their own, the trees I'm talking about. Some Eversource went through and sliced them in half. So that was one cause. And then recently we know about the train can't have trees as close to it as it did. I asked for a hearing and had it with the, I forget our whole group.
This is sidewalk
But
issue.
when I saw all the signs from West Avenue to Middlesex, that every single maple that was going to come down for that whole block, I couldn't believe it. So now that too has a brand new sidewalk, yes, and it's fine for the handicap, but it's also hot. It used to be shaded all the way. And I've always heard that we're going to plant more trees, so don't worry, but I think we need to have more clarity about that. Who's deciding the trees, where are the trees going, et cetera. So this leads up to, I've learned in this process that there's such a thing as Tree City, which somebody else mentioned. So I looked up who has tree cities, what are tree cities? So to name a few, Greenwich, Stamford, Norwalk, Fairfield, Westport, Wilton are all tree cities. And in a tree city, it doesn't cost that much. You have to have one paid person, could be the tree warden, and a committee made up of citizens volunteering their time who are knowledgeable about all the issues we've mentioned tonight. What are the trees historically that we want to keep? What are the ones we need to keep our tree canopy? And if we had a committee like that, we wouldn't be here arguing with each other. It would be a committee of knowledgeable people making decisions with those who want to do the development. So I hope we can learn from this, because all this I've seen recently is really frustrating. And I went to the beach, and now I see even down that street, there are trees marked to come down. I feel like I can't go anywhere without seeing that sign, take down the trees. So, somebody mentioned it. I happened to be looking at my new magazine, and maybe that's where you saw it, where Darien is the only town mentioned as being the real hot spot. This just came, and why is it hot? Because of urban sprawl, more asphalt, more cement, and more trees coming down. So, that's where I think we need to go next, so we don't have to have this kind of hearing. I hope we can become a tree city with a group of citizens working with developers to do what's best for everybody. Thank you.
Thank you. Is there anyone else who'd like to make a statement at this point? You can approach the microphone. You can use that, like, just be sure, I think it's turned on.
Hello? Can you hear me? No? Oh. Hello? Can you hear me? It's good? Mask?
You can take the mask off, yeah.
Thanks. I'm sorry. Oh, yeah. Okay. So I think at this point I'm here just to reiterate what everyone said. Oh, sure. I apologize. I was going to get to that. So my name is Paola Sordoni, 15 Tower Drive, and I have lived in Darien for about 11 years. And I guess at this point I'm here just to reiterate what everybody has said. I'm also concerned of the functionality of the streets are doing to our towns right now, and what is going to happen once they're gone. So I'm also the chair of the Darien Green Team. The Darien Green Team is a place where green organizations gather and share information about their projects, and we share information. We partner in projects. So we share a lot of experience and information. But today I'm here speaking as a concerned citizen from Darien. A group of us met with David Genovese on Saturday, and he graciously gave us a good portion of his time to explain the reasons he needs to take those trees down, and why at this stage of the process it will be very difficult to make changes. He needs to take down 12 oak trees. If he moves forward with this plan, he will disrupt an important food source for local birds. Oak trees are a source of larvae for birds to feed their offsprings. Removing all those trees would disrupt the food supply for the birds around the area. One option for consideration is cutting down some of the trees, but not all. Cut enough trees to provide access for trucks to build the foundation, and leave the rest of the trees to continue to provide the shade, canopy, food, and also collect the water from the rain. During our conversation, David also shared his restoration plan, and the town provided David with a list of trees to plant in his restoration plan. The list provided by the town has many invasive species, which means they do not provide anything for the local native birds or feed the ecosystem. These trees actually support invasive insects that do not have local predators, which cause their population to grow uncontrollably. I do not blame Dave for his decision on the trees that he picked, because he followed guidelines provided by the town. But I do urge the town to update the guidelines of the tree selection and provide only native species. Invasive species displace native species and act as a host for invasive insects, such as lanternfly, which is killing crops across the state of Pennsylvania, and have recently been active in Greenwich and New Canaan. And now, here we are planting more invasive trees. As a member of this community, and knowing how hard or valuable volunteers work to eliminate invasive species, I would like the town to consider not allowing big projects to plant invasive species, and also educate local residents about the problem with invasive species. David Genovese has been discussing this plan with the town for over a decade. No kidding, yet the guidelines for planting the trees are obsolete and do not serve the current needs for our town. Ideally, I would like Dave to cut less than 12 trees, hopefully, and to update his restoration planting to all native trees, which will provide some of the functions that the existing oak trees are performing right now. Quality over quantity. Darien will be even a better place when we all join forces, not to add, to remove invasive species. Thank you.
Thank you. See you.
Should I give it to you, or?
Oh, you can leave it.
I'm sorry?
You can leave with the secretary.
Thank you.
Is there anyone else who'd like to make a statement at this time? Please, please.
Is this on? Can you guys hear me? My name is Reese Hutchison, 70 Hecker Avenue, property owner downtown as well. I think before we go any further, I'd just like to thank Jamie Stevenson. You've done 10 years of incredible government meetings like this, and Monica McNally, who is still excited to jump in and give half of your life to the ability for everybody to speak and come and voice their concerns about something. This is a difficult issue. People can be very passionate, both sides. David has spent almost 2 decades on this project, and it's difficult to have this come up last minute. And you guys are right about guidelines and everything else. I own property in downtown, and we took down pin oaks that are the same vintage as David's because people were tripping on the sidewalks. And three administrations ago, we found the money and did the engineering and redid the sidewalks, which are safer now. Those were not appropriate trees for downtown. They're not at all listed in any of the arborist manuals as being a good tree for that environment. It's difficult to see things have to be removed for development purposes. We all want to, have a better environment. We're all on the same page. Just one side note, Stephen Mather Road used to be called Grandview because there were no trees between Stephen Mather Road and the ocean. So what we see here is probably 100 to 150 years old. A lot of the trees are not 300-400. Some of you have English accents. The squirrel used to be able to go from one side of England to the other without touching the ground. So we're going through a resurgence in trees in many ways. There's a lot of things your local boards have done for drainage and flooding, and also asking developers and asking owners when they do a replacement house to put in significant trees, to save significant trees. I can think of the case at the end of 5 Mile River Road, the Richards property, where I was not on any of the boards, asked them to save a tree. Another one on Brush Island became a listing feature when the spec home was for sale. I think it was a $7 million home. The tree was listed in the listing that was saved by your Planning and Zoning Commission in negotiation with the developer. So this is not a new thing. It's a definitely, it can be something of tension. The pollinator pathway is awesome. I'm glad you guys are thinking forward and all of that. It's just difficult when you have a development to include that as well as a significant feature in something like this and ask for the drainage infrastructure, the power infrastructure, and everything else that's going to be needed. So just realize that there's people on your local boards and serving in your local government make this possible, even for somebody like Darren to come in here and sometimes inappropriately speak his mind. So it's great to have this forum, and I know you have a very difficult job balancing those needs, and I would strongly be in favor of your recommendation and what conclusions that you come to allow the project to go forward. It's been a long process. Thank you.
Thank you.
Thanks, Darren.
Right.
Is there anyone else who'd like to make a statement at this point? Okay, we'll close the public hearing. We're going to now hereby adjourn. Thanks. Thank you for coming.